Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit of the WoW podcast, Blue Please on CynicalBrit.com. Welcome to an instance so epic, I needed 3 videos to fully describe just how fantastic it is. This is the Heroic Stonecore. An instance that I didn't really enjoy all that much in normal mode, but has really come into its own when they ramp up the difficulty. In comparison to the disappointment that I suffered from Heroic Vortex Pinnacle yesterday, this is a breath of fresh, difficult, and thoroughly evil air. I'm a big fan of it. Now, if you've watched the Stonecore video, you'll be aware of how this starts off. We get trash pulls with Milhouse Mana Storm. You DPS him down until he runs away like a sissy girl. He'll go to the second group, and you'll fight him there, then another, and finally, we will defeat him. Or, well, we won't. That's the odd thing. Suppose if you haven't seen the normal mode Stonecore video, you should probably watch it. I'm putting a link on the video right there. It might be worth it. It will give you an idea of what to expect. This trash is not exactly all that hard, but bear in mind that the group we have here is extremely high on CC. We've got a Warlock whose improved fear with the glyph can now cause a target to cower in terror instead of running around pulling every mob within a 20-mile radius. I, of course, have the ever-reliable Polymorph, and we have a Hunter who can launch a variety of interesting traps, and also has a Seagull that doesn't give a damn what you think. We're not using the Seagull right now because we believe it would make the instance a little bit too easy. Now, you got to watch out for those pulls right there. Those don't take an awful lot to DPS down, but you do want to deal with them. What I would recommend is that your strongest CC and your most reliable CC go on the one at the back, because that one will create a Force of Earth, which is a nasty elemental that does a big area of effect damage. CC it, stop it from doing that, and you will not run into any problems. Oddly enough, with all of the crowd control that we have here and the understanding of this trash from doing the normal mode, we actually do better on this trash than we did on the normal mode trash, and it doesn't seem to be bugged out anymore. If you recall, at one point in the normal mode, we got about 5 Force of Earths appear from nowhere and wipe the group. It wasn't all that pleasant. Thankfully, that didn't happen this time. Aside from that, there's not an awful lot you really need to worry about here. Just make sure that you avoid the patrols. And there is, I don't know if this is supposed to be a bug, I think it probably is. As soon as you touch him this time, he will run off, and that sometimes can apparently pull another pack. In this case, that's not too much of a problem. That doesn't end up happening, but we actually end up running out just in case anyway, and I'm sure we can skip that. So we just finish off the group kill, the Force of Earth that was actually able to spawn there. As you can see, it does quite a bit of damage, but that trash isn't too challenging. Now you'll notice that he's doing an impending doom, at which point he gets run over by the giant rock snake thing. Now, like I said, I'm cutting out all of the wipes. You can watch the wipes in the Wipeathon video to learn exactly how this fight goes, and we're going now into the successful, if still a little bit scrappy attempt on this very challenging boss. Just to give you an idea of how long this actually took us, about 4 hours of wipes. But bear in mind, of course, there were a number of problems. We had the instance server go down at one point. We had the instance server reset at one point. It's not too nice. Now, what does it do? Well, you should have watched Wipeathon to get the full strategy, but a brief overview is it will spray crystals all over the place. They will then spawn adds. You have to AoE them down straight away, otherwise they will explode. They will debuff you. They will do a ton of damage. You don't want to do anything with that. You've got this nasty AoE pulse that will put a healing absorption debuff that has to be dispelled. He will go into phase 2. He will spawn a crap ton of adds. If he hits you with the dust cloud, he will kill you instantly. Deal with the adds because they hit for a lot of damage. Watch out for the crystal barrages. Try and move out of them as quickly as possible. Stay alive and DPS, DPS, and DPS again. This is not a DPS race per se. This is an execution fight, but it is very hectic and pretty much perfection is required. It would also be really nice if those survey things didn't pop up at random. It's incredibly irritating and very tricky. Also watch out, as I mentioned in Wipeathon, the particle effects can really get in the way and cause you a bunch of problems. It's usually quite easy to stay out of the way of that dust cloud, but because of the angle you generally end up at, it can be very awkward indeed. And yes, we are actually doing this with the healer dead, I might point out. He's healing as much as he possibly can in that healing form. It's much better than it used to be. We're really nuking him down. A lot of damage on him, a lot of damage. We managed to do it. Oh, the Screaming Of event, I tell you, we were so very, very happy, and then I died. And everyone, with the exception of the tank, ended up dying. It's okay, he was able to kite around those little shards that would have otherwise killed him. It was so goddamn satisfying, I tell you. It's such a great fight. Really, really good. Hopefully you guys that are up for a challenge are going to really enjoy this. And I do hope that Blizzard doesn't nerf it, honestly, because it is an execution fight. It's not a gear check, it is an execution fight. People just have to learn how to do it, and they will be just fine. Does that seem unreasonable to you? Doesn't to me. Maybe I'm just an elitist, but hey, like I said before, what's the point in a game that you can't lose? Right, let's get on with it, shall we? Now, this next piece of trash is extremely awesome. This is one of those mechanics that you simply would not figure out on your own because it's so very different. So you just saw that quake there that just decimated the group, and we were like, what the hell? How do you avoid this? We think, well, line of sight maybe? No, that doesn't work. Can we outrange it? No, we can't do that either. Now, I had to ask a guildie for this. The rest of this we figured out on our own, but we just couldn't. We had no idea. We're like, guys, what the hell? And they said, you have to jump. Like, what? You have to jump. You have to jump just as the quake goes in, and you can avoid the damage, but you've got to time it perfectly. We're like, wow, really, that's an awesome mechanic. Unfortunately, because the European beta servers are based in the US, you lag, and it's actually quite hard to pull it off. The timing required is very, very specific. Yes, indeed. However, it's okay because we have a hero hunter, and he's going to kite the bastard and get all of the jumps perfect as you see him clawing it out the side there. Look at the health bar. Yes, he does jump every single one of them and kills it. What a superstar. Now, because one, I really like testing, and two, I really like trying to get one over on the developers, I decided, so that mechanic requires you to be airborne. What happens if we levitate the entire group? Will we be able to avoid the quake? Here is your answer. Yes. Now, of course, you can't keep levitate on the tank because levitate disappears on damage, but you can keep it on everybody else. So the tank's still got to jump to avoid it, but everyone else can just stick with levitate if you happen to have a priest in the group. Also, these things spawn crystal shards, just like the ones that you saw in the first fight, but they have a lot more health. You do want to kill those very quickly. You'll see they appear in this red beam, so no big deal there. Now, the Stonecore Flares are possibly the easiest mobs in here. They really don't do much, but at random, you can also be attacked by these rock borers that will cause you a few problems if you are in a group that doesn't have heavy area of effect. At this point, we really don't have a problem with that. We have a Warlock. We've got a Death Knight, of course, with its Death and Decay, and a Fire Mage. Plus, the Hunter can multi-shot, which is quite nice. So, no problems with the Stonecore Flares. Now, mini Gauntlet event right here. This is the same as the normal mode, as far as I can tell. We're going to be shelled as we go through here by large falling stalactites. So we go through here. We just avoid them. You see the black splodges on the ground. No real problems there. Very, very easy to clear all the way through. Now, since we one-shot this boss, I'm going to show you it on 100% speed as opposed to my usual 200, because that also gives me the time to provide my feedback. Now, they have enhanced this in heroic mode quite significantly, but it seems to me that they have some problems with the tuning. So, in the original mode, he dropped things from the sky. At this point, he seems to drop a few more of them. He will have those eruptions in the ground, that fiery stuff, so no big deal there. He's still not doing anything specific, as you can see. Nothing new, anyway. He's doing a lot more damage to the tank, and obviously the healer's having to work harder as a direct result of that, but still, not an awful lot going on here. So the question is, what does he do? Well, he does have an additional ability, and this is what it is. So he's going to start firing out those spines all over the place, and I, thinking quickly on my feet, I decide to move behind line of sight, and hey, that's exactly what does it. So I'm able to survive by moving behind there, and as you can see, those stalactites do come into their own in this particular version, whereas in the normal mode they simply disappear and don't do anything. The problem is this: you have way too much time to move behind those. They're doing about 10,000 damage a second. You've got an average of 80,000 health. If you are not a tank, you can very easily avoid those. I should also point out that the boss does not appear to have enough health. He goes down way, way too quickly. As you can see, our healer has been dead for ages, and our tank is just sitting there, eating the damage, using cooldowns to avoid it, regaining some health, no problem at all. He is actually surviving, and we are able to kill it, and the healer has been dead for, what, 40 seconds? Yeah, that should not happen. unquestionably that should not happen. What I would say is those things should fall from the sky quicker to ensure that you have to move a lot faster. Getting hit by those is a non-issue since it's so blatantly obvious. So dodging those should be a lot harder. It should be maybe doing the Spine's ability more often. The Spine should perhaps do more damage so that you have less time to get behind the Stalactite block. And then just give it some more health. Give it 50% more health so that the fight lasts longer. Some of these fights do not last long enough, and they are way too short, and as a result too easy, because you barely have to focus. It's over in a flash. Now, you're probably not paying any attention to me. You're looking at the gigantic core hound behind me. Now, see, the hunter got a little bit confused. He thought we said we were going to run Molten Core Heroic. He's using that potion of illusion. This is the same guy who was the giant dinosaur. He is now a fire-spitting, arrow-shooting, evil corehound of death that is now in stealth mode. Yes, our hunter likes to muck about. Feigned death. That's got to be the best addition to alchemy I could ever possibly think of. Now, we're going to show you the trash all the way up to boss 3, then we'll end it there, and part 2, which will include quite a lot of wipes on the final boss, as well as quite a lot of wipes on boss 3, while we try and figure out exactly what the mechanics are, will be coming at some point tomorrow, because it's quite late. It's already 2 AM, so yeah. This trash is pretty entertaining. You need to watch out for the low-health sentries. If you do not kill the sentries, they will run off and they will wake up one of the packs around here. Most of them you can avoid. Also, for God's sake, if you can, crowd control the Magma Lord, because if you don't, it will spit fire everywhere that does huge amounts of damage to the group. It's not nice. So having a Shaman or a Warlock for this is very handy. As you can see, we have an excessive amount of crowd control. Now, these Rift Conjurers will, needless to say, conjure rifts, and a lot of demons will come out of them. Lots and lots of imps. They don't do a lot of damage on their own, but they fire very quickly, which means they can cause a lot of spell pushback, and they can very quickly outnumber your party. Now, these guys are fantastic. These are really entertaining. They were good in the normal mode. They're even better now because they can do a massive shockwave. Now, if the shockwave hits anybody in front of them, it will kill them. As demonstrated right there. Splat. Dead in a heartbeat. They will jump around. They will do huge amounts of damage, about 40 to 45,000 or so. So your healers really got to be on the ball, and you need to watch out never to be in front of him. Bear in mind the shockwave can go off very quickly after the jumping, so if he ends up in a bad position, he could one-shot your entire group. So do be careful. Death gripping the sentry towards you will help. Just nail it down, crowd control it, whatever you need to stop it from running off to one of those groups around there. Otherwise, you can avoid the vast majority of the trash in this room if you are careful. I would recommend it. Needless to say, our first time in here, we're not necessarily so careful, and something horrible ends up happening here. And I want to show you this just for the entertainment value of us being swamped by so many goddamn evil imps. It does remind me of Molten Core all over again. The good parts of it, the giant imp packs, I remember those, leading up to Lucifron and Magmadar. Oh yes. Good times. No, I never want Molten Core back. Don't even think about it. It was a bad instance. Accept it. Those demon portals can be interrupted, but they will still summon a large number of imps regardless. I would recommend you interrupt them anyway, just so that you don't get completely overwhelmed. Magma Lord right there, not too pleasant. We've set up a trap just in front of that, just in case it ends up breaking. However, the problem we run into right here is actually something of a overzealous pet. We end up taking out the Magma Lord without a problem. We force ourselves forward, and then we end up pulling that pack, which causes an absolute disaster to occur. Magma Lord spitting fire all over the place, huge amounts of area of effect damage, evil imps scurrying all over the place. Look at how many Chaos Bolts there are. Like, hey, let's find some more Chaos Bolts. Why not? We love Chaos Bolts, don't we? And I thought we had it. I really thought we had it until I managed to pull aggro on that guy and everyone sort of kind of died. Yeah. Oh well, it happens. Extreme care should be taken not to pull those packs. If you are overly cautious, you can kill them. In this case, you really, really don't need to. The only thing you actually need to kill is that. Get it out of the way, and do be very careful about the knockback. Move back a little bit. Try and position yourself in such a way that if you do get knocked around, you're not going to get knocked into another pack. That bouncing maneuver he does right there, yes, I like to call it the Tigger strategy. It is not going to knock you all over the place. It'll just sort of knock you up in the air. simply vertically. It's not going to knock you across the room, so you don't need to worry too much. And that is that, ladies and gentlemen. That is part 1 of the Stonecore Heroic. I'm going to be back tomorrow to show you part 2, as I claw through another 60 or 70 gigabytes of footage to make this happen. This is the 3rd boss. That's what we'll be going on to tomorrow. Thank you ever so much for watching. Hopefully that's been pretty educational for you. And I just want to say, by the way, if you haven't already realized, that this instance is goddamn fantastic. In Heroic mode, it just takes it to a whole nother level. It's really, really entertaining, and I'm looking forward to showing you the other bosses, which are also fantastic. And, of course, a little bit of groovy trash. My name's been Totalbiscuit. I'm going to bed. I'll see you next time.